Hi all, in this lecture we will see about white box testing and also an important topic known as Maccabe's cyclomatic complexity. So this is important because we have to study the same thing in fifth module also. We have to learn control flow graph. So white box testing. So the basic so in white box testing what we have to do is we have to analyze the code. So we have to analyze the inside part of the code. So in black box testing you won't see. So that is why this white box testing is also known as glass box testing, because it is transparent. That code is transparent. That is we can see the actual code. So we have to check the inside of the code. Then it is known as white box testing. So white box testing can be of two types. One is fault based testing. Here we try to detect certain types of faults. Okay, then it is known as fault based testing. Then there is coverage based testing. So in coverage based testing we try to execute certain elements of a program. We try to cover certain elements of the program. Then it is known as coverage based testing. So we have two strategies in white box testing. One is fault based testing and second is coverage based testing. So testing criteria for coverage based testing, it is a set of specific program elements that testing strategy targets to execute is called testing criteria. So what is this testing criteria means? In coverage based testing we have a criteria. So in what we do is we try to cover that testing criteria. So if it is a statement coverage testing, that means all the statements should be covered. So if it is a branch coverage testing, then we should cover all the branches in the program, okay, or all the loops in the program. Like that, there will be different criteria for testing. So we will see both kinds of testing. One is fault based testing and coverage based testing. So this is also an important thing in unit testing. So this is also unit testing. So before going into this white box testing, we should understand the name, what is stronger testing and weaker testing. So stronger testing strategy means it covers all program element covered by weaker strategy. That is, if we have a weaker strategy and we have another strategy which is stronger than that weaker, means it covers all the elements of the weaker thing, and additionally it will cover some more elements. So cover at least one program element that is not covered by weaker strategy, then we can call it as a stronger testing strategy. So this is a way. So we have type of errors detected by testing strategy B. So we have a strategy called B. So all these errors will be found out using this strategy. And if you have another strategy called A, it detects more errors than B. Okay, A is a stronger testing strategy than B. Then this is another two types of strategy. Some of the errors are found out by strategy A, and some other kinds of errors are found out by strategy B, and some common errors are also detected by both these strategies A and B. So these are known as A and B are known as complementary testing strategies. Okay, so we should understand this. So if we have some testing mechanism a strategy, and if we have two different testing strategies, and if all the errors are covered by this testing strategy also, then we need not use this testing strategy, because we can directly use this strategy A itself. We need not go for B because A also covers B. But if this is the case, we have to use both these testing strategies. So we will see first white box testing, or the first type of this coverage testing. So we will first see coverage based testing. So there are mainly four coverage based testing. So we will see each one separately. First one is statement coverage testing. Statement coverage testing. So this is the weakest of all coverage based testing. Here in statement coverage, as the name points out, here we have to design test cases so that every statement in a program is executed at least once. So if we have set of statements in a program, all the set of statements should be executed at least once. Then we can say that it is a statement coverage testing. So unless a statement is executed, it is very difficult to observe. So we have to check whether a statement is executing or not. So if that is executed, then we can find out whether there is any error in that statement. So we will see an example. We have an algorithm to compute the GCD, Euclid's GCD computation algorithm. So this is algorithm GCD of x comma y. We have int x comma y. Then in the first statement it is while x not equal to y. If in the second statement we have x greater than y, then what you have to do is x equal to x minus y, else y equal to y minus x should be done, and we have to return this x. So we have to give some test cases that has said all the statements are executed, all the statements. So we have 6 statements in this program. So we have to design a testing strategy such that all the 6 statements are covered. 6 statements are covered. So by using this test set, for example, if we give x equal to 3 and y equal to 3. So in the case when x equal to 3 and y equal to 3, when x not equal, so it is not equal to y. 3 not equal to 3, so it is false. So what happens is it will go to statement number 6. So this 6th statement will be executed. Then we will give x equal to 4 and y equal to 3. Then x not equal to y, so it is true. So it will come inside 4 greater than 3. So this is true. So this x equal to x minus y, this will be executed. Then after that it will go to again this while statement, then minus, so it will be become less than, so it will come out, return x will be happen. So again next strategy, x equal to 3 and x equal to 5. So all the statements will be covered if we give these 3 test cases. So this is known as statement coverage. Okay, so we have to cover all the statements in a program, then that is known as statement coverage testing. So you have to design test cases as that all the statements are covered, then it is known as statement coverage testing. So this is a kind of coverage based testing. Then we have second type of testing, coverage based testing. It is known as branch coverage. So we have to design test cases such that all branch conditions are assumed true and false values. So if there are some branching conditions in the program, then all the branching conditions should assume true and false values. So branch testing is also known as edge testing. So it guarantees statement coverage. So it means it covers that statement coverage. So statement coverage is a weaker strategy and branch coverage is stronger than statement coverage. So it is stronger strategy compared to the statement coverage testing. So for Euclid's GCD computation algorithm, a test case for branch coverage can be like this. So if we give test case like this, x equal to 3, y equal to 3, so it will assume false. It will be x not equal to y will be false first. Then if we give x equal to 3, y equal to 2, that statement while x not equal to y, that becomes false. That becomes true. Then if we give x equal to 4, y equal to 3, again it will become true. X equal to 3 and y equal to 4, again it will become. Similarly inside the if also, it will alternately become true and false. So that is known as branch coverage. So for all the branching conditions, we have to give true and false values. True and false values, then all the branches will be covered. So if we cover all the branches, automatically all the statements will also be covered. That is why this is a stronger strategy than the statement coverage testing. Then third is condition coverage testing. So in condition coverage testing, we have to design test cases such that each component of an expression is assumed both true and false values. So we have to get both true and false values. Okay. So here it is branch conditions, and here each component of an expression to assume both true and false values should be there. So if we have some conditions like C1 and C2 or C3, so in the case of if we are using this branch coverage alone, then we won't get all the inputs. So if we are using if we are using branch coverage alone, so we'll see an example. So here there are 3 components, C1, C2 and C3 are each made to assume both true and false values here. So we have to take all the 3 values. So there will be multiple condition coverage will be there. So in the case C1 and C2, C3, in the previous case, we will simply give C1 as true, C1 as false and C3 as true. Then automatically that branch will be covered. Then another thing is, if we give both true and this one also is true, we will get true. Or we will simply give false here, one as false and this also as false, we will get all the things. But in the case of condition coverage, what we have to do is we have to assume all the true and false values for each of the component. That means there are three components here. So we have 2 raised to 3, 8 should be given. That is, this should be given 0, 0, 1, then 0, 1, 0 should be there, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, like that all the values should be given. So we have to give true and false values. But in the case of the previous branch coverage, what we have to give is we have to assume true and false values. For that we have to give only two test cases, because if we give C1 as false and C3 as true, then automatically first branch coverage true condition will be there, the result will be true. Then we have to give the same here false and C3 as false, then automatically that false condition will also happen. So both the branch coverage will be done using two values alone. But in the case of condition coverage, we have to take all the individual components C1, C2, C3 as individual components, and we have to give alternative true and false values. That is, initially it will be 0, 0, 1, then it will be 0, 1, 0, then 0, 1, 1, then 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, like that. It will, all those values should be given. So it is stronger testing strategy than branch testing. So for an expression with n components, then there will be 2 raised to n test cases would be required. In the condition coverage, there will be 2 raised to n. That is, here we have 8 test cases will be rare, because there are 3 components, 2 raised to 3, 8 test cases will be there. But in the case of branch coverage, we can go with 2 test cases for the same thing. So number of test cases increases exponentially with the number of component conditions. That is a problem with this condition coverage. Okay. Next is path coverage. So this is an important thing. So this we have to study in the 5th module also. This is an important essay question also. So path coverage, what you have to do is, so this is stronger than the previous one, condition coverage. So we have to design test cases such that all linearly independent paths in the program are executed at least once. So we have to design test cases such that all linearly independent paths in the program are executed at least once. So we will see what is a linearly independent path. So a linearly independent path can be defined in terms of the control flow graph of a program. So we will see what is a control flow graph. So CFG. So this is an important topic, control flow graph. So this is also there in the 5th module also. So control flow graph, it is drawn like this. So if we have a sequence statement like this, we have two statements, A equal to 5 and B equal to 2, A into 2 minus 1, something like that. Then we have two statements. Then the node will be like this. So it is a connection of edges and nodes. Nodes and edges. So one and there will be two nodes. If there are two statements, then there will be two nodes and there will be a arrow mark like this. So this is a sequence. Then if it is a selection like this, if A greater than B, C equal to 3, else C equal to 5 and C equal to C greater than C, some C into C, like that. So this is the first statement, A greater than B. So if A greater than B, second statement is C equal to 3 should be come here. Then the third statement, else bar, should come here. After that, fourth statement like this, it will come here. Okay, then if it is iteration, then while A greater than B, it should be, this is iterating. All these three statements have to be iterated. A greater than B, B equal to B minus 1. So in every program, we have three sets of statements, sequence, selection and iteration. So what you have to do is, we have to represent all the programs like this using this control flow graph, sequence, selection and iterations. So a control flow graph describes the sequence in which the different instructions of a program get executed. So control flow graph describes how the control flows through the program. So the statements of a program must be numbered first. So what we do in control flow graph is, we will number the statements of a program. Then numbered statements serve as nodes of the control flow graph. Then an edge from one node to another node exists if the execution of the statement representing the first node can result in the transfer of control to the other node. Then there will be an edge. Okay, we will see. So a path through a program. So path, what do you mean by a path? A path through a program is a node and edge sequence from the starting node to a terminal node of the control flow graph of a program. Then it is known as path. Then we can have more than one terminal node in a program also. It is not necessary that we have a single terminal node. So writing test cases to cover all the paths is impractical. So there are several paths in a program. So it is impracticable to write the test cases to cover all the paths in the program. So what we do is in path coverage testing, only cover linearly independent paths. So we have to determine what is this linearly independent paths. So linearly independent path is path through the program that introduce at least a new edge. So at least if a new edge is there, then it is known as linearly independent path. We will see an example, then you will understand what this is. So that is not included in any other linearly independent paths. So there may be several linearly independent paths. So if a new edge is introduced from starting to end, and if it is not there in the set of linear independent paths, then this is another linear independent path. So a path that is subpath of another path is not a linearly independent path. So we will see an example. So we will see an example. So we have seen the GCD example. So this is the program. So we have numbered the program. So we have 6 numbers. So we have to draw 6 nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then here first one is a branching statement, selection statement, while x not equal to y. So first statement, so 1 from 1, so while x not equal to y. So if x not equal to y, if it is true, then it has to go to step 2. If it is false, then it has to go to step 6. That is why it is drawn to here. So if it is true, it will come here. Then in second step, what we have to do, if x, we have to check whether x greater than y. So here we have to check whether x is greater than y. So if x is greater than y, we have to go to 3. That is why it is going to this node, 3. Then this is wrong actually. So here, then if x not equal to y, if x is less than y, then it has to go to 4. And after that, both will terminate at 5th statement, come to 5th statement, and from here that line should be there. So this arrow should not be from 3, this is actually from 5. So from 5 to 1 there should be an arrow. So this is the looping statement. So this is the looping statement. So in this way we can draw the control flow graph. So it is easy to represent a control flow graph. So what we have to do is we have to number all the lines, all the statements. Then we have to draw this statement. If there is some flow from one, if there is flow from this node to this node, then we have to represent using an edge. So this is the if statement. If it is true, this go to this 3. If it is false, go to this 4. Then from 3 and 4 it will go to 5th statement, that is this braces is the 5th statement. Then again it has to repeat. So from 5 it has to go to 1. So this is not from 3, this is from 5 it has to go to 1. So if it is false, it will go to directly to 6. So this is the control flow graph. So it is difficult. So if here there are different linearly independent paths. So if we can say I can find out different paths like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 and 6. That is a linearly independent path. That is 1, 2, 3. So there is a path like this 1, 2, 3, 5, then 1 and 6. This is one linearly independent path. Second path is 1, 2, 4, 5, 1 and 6. That is the second linearly path. Then third linearly path is 1 to 6. That is, there is a path from starting to end 1 to 6. But 1 to 6 is already included in the previous 2 linearly independent paths. So that path is not linearly independent path. So we have only 2 linearly independent paths in this GCD computation. Okay. So it is not easy to determine the number of independent paths of the program. So what we have done is Markov-based cyclomatic complexity is there. So it gives the upper bound on the number of linearly independent paths. So if we could find out, this is a value. Markov-based cyclomatic complexity gives a value, gives some value. If we get a value like 3, then it means that that program has maximum 3 linearly independent paths. So if we get a value 5 for a the cyclomatic complexity value as 5, then it means there are 5 linearly independent paths in the program. So there are different methods to find out the cyclomatic complexity or Markov-based cyclomatic complexity. So this is an important question. So what first method is, it is easy. So we should draw the control flow graph first. Then from the control flow graph, the cyclomatic complexity V of G can be computed by edges minus n plus 2. So we have to determine the number of edges. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 edges. 7 edges and nodes, there are 6 nodes. 7 minus 6 plus 2, that means 3. So the maximum limit will be 3. So there will be at most 3 linearly independent paths in this program. So there will be at most 3 linearly independent paths in the program. So in this way we can find out the cyclomatic complexity or Markov-based cyclomatic complexity. Then method 2 is there, it's the same thing. So he has designed 3 different methods to find the linear independent paths or cyclomatic complexity. So V of G equal to total number of bounded areas plus 1. So bounded area means any region enclosed by nodes and edges can be called as a bounded area. So if we check this, we have 2 bounded areas. So this is one bounded area and second bounded area is from 5 to 1. So second, so it is a closed thing. So this is a closed bounded area, this is second. So we have 2. So if we have 2, then what we have to do is total number of bounded area plus 1, that is 2 plus 1 gives 3. So we will get the same result. Here also we got 3. Here using the second method also we will get 3. Then method 3 is compute the number of decision statements of the program. So if n is the number of decision statements of the program, then Markov-based is the person who has designed this. Markov-based metric is equal to n plus 1. So in this case we have 2. So this is first decision making. This is first decision making. This is second decision making. So we have 2. So metric will be n plus 1. So 2 plus 1, it is 3. So all the 3 methods will give the same result. So this is an important question. So question might be like this. So you have to find the cyclomatic complexity for a bubble sort or for a selection sort or for insertion sort, find the cyclomatic complexity, or binary search, find the cyclomatic complexity, or linear search, find the cyclomatic complexity. So what you have to do is you have to write the code like this, then you have to number the statements like this. After numbering, you have to draw the control flow graph and using these 3 methods. First method is edges minus nodes plus 2. Then second method, bounded areas plus 1. Third method is number of decision statements plus 1. So all the 3 will give the same result. So this way you can find out the cyclomatic complexity. So how is path testing carried out by cyclomatic algorithm? So what we have to do is we have to draw the control flow graph, determines Markov-based matrix, that is V of G should be found out, then determine the cyclomatic complexity, repeat it, test using a randomly designed set of test cases such that all the paths are covered. So if we have 3 different paths, all these 3 paths should be covered by a test cases. So we will give some random test cases and check whether all the paths have been covered. So we will stop until at least 90% of the path coverage is achieved. So there are automated tools available to do this path coverage testing and all. So what we have to do is we cannot design test cases to cover all the paths. So if it is a very large program, maybe there will be 5 or 8 linearly independent paths will be there. So it will be difficult to cover all the paths. So if we have reached at least 90% of the path coverage is achieved, we can stop that. So what is the use of this Markov-based cyclomatic complexity? So this estimation, it is also an estimation of the structural complexity of the program. So huge value of cyclomatic complexity means level of difficulty in understanding program will also be increased. So if cyclomatic complexity is 10, that means it is a very large, huge program and it is very difficult to understand. And also it is an estimation of the testing effort. So if the cyclomatic complexity is 10, that means we have to design 10 different test cases, such that all the 10 parts should be covered. At least 9 test parts should be covered. Then only we can say that the program is correct. And also it is an estimation of the program readability also. If the cyclomatic complexity is a very large value, that means it is very difficult, or it is a unreadable program, or it is very difficult to understand the program. Okay. The next type of testing is white box testing, is data flow based testing. So we have to select test paths of a program according to the locations of the definition and use of that different variable in a program. Then it is known as data flow based testing. That is, for a statement numbered S, let df of s define of s equal to x, such that the statement S contains a definition of that x, and if another statement is there which uses that value of x, we should design test cases as that. For example, for the statement S equal to A equal to B plus C, we will have a statement f of s equal to A, and uses are B and C. So we have to design test cases that there will be a flow from A to B and C. So we have to design test cases such that all the pairs of def and uses are covered. So if we have some variable x, and if we have some other statement that uses that value, then we have to design test cases that such that it covers this def of s and uses of s statement. So you should simply understand what is this data flow based testing. That's all. So definition of a variable x at statement is said to be live at statement S1. So if there exists a path from statement S to statement S1 which does not contain any definition of x. So if there is a path from S to S1, we have to cover that statement, both those statements, then it is known as data flow based testing. Just for your understanding, you do not to go into this data flow based testing and all. So just should know the definition of this data flow based testing. So if you have two statements like definition and uses, then there should be a flow from this definition to uses. The next is mutation testing. This is also another white box testing. So this is a kind of fault based testing. So we have initially said that there are two types of white box testing. One is fault based testing and coverage based testing. So mutation testing is an example for fault based testing. So what we do is, software is first tested by using the initial test suite. So we have a test suite built up from the different white box testing strategies. We have built a test case, set of test cases. So we will test the software using those test cases. Then what we do is, we will perform mutation. That is, we will simply change the statements. So if the first statement is A equal to B plus C and second statement is B equal to B into C, then we will simply mutate that. That is, we will simply make the second statement as first and first statement as second. We will simply randomly change the order of statements. Simply put some values here and there and all. That is, we will perform mutation of the program. Okay. And we will check whether we will make some few arbitrary changes to a program at a time. That is that changed program is known as mutate program, and that change affected is called as a mutant. So what we do is, we will mutate the program. If we have a software, what we do is, we will simply shuffle some of the statements. We will simply jumble, or we will shuffle those statements, and what we do is, we will get a mutate program. Then what we do is, we will give the same test case. So initially we have designed a test case and we have tested, and we found out there is no error. Then what we do is, we will mutate, or we will change the program. We will change shuffle some lines of code and all. Again, we will use the same test case to test whether it is working properly. So if it is working properly, then it is known as a mutant program. So there is some error in the program. Even after changing some one line of code, there we are getting the correct result. That means there might be some error in the program. So that program is known as a mutant program. So we have to check whether there is some error. So we can generate a large number of mutants. So we require to check each mutant with a full test suite. So it is not suitable for manual testing. So it is usually used during if we have some automated testing tools, then we can use this mutation testing. That is, it will automatically generate some mutant programs and it will test with those test suite cases automatically, and it will say whether there are some error in some mutant programs. So this is known as mutation testing. So it is a fault based testing. It also belongs to white box testing. So that's all. Thank you.